Hi and welcome to the Eyewear Stylist podcast, 100% Optical Edition. I'm joined by Rue from Pure Gala Social. Hi Rue, how are you today?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing very well, thank you. So could you tell everyone that's either listening or even watching today a bit about yourself and your own journey, what you're doing in your business life and what your plans are for 2023?
Sure thing. So I'm Rue. I'm the founder of a Instagram consultancy called Pure Gala Social. And I gained a following on Instagram partly because of my sort of marketing expertise, but also partly because of the way that I look, which I'm really aware of because people tell me all the time, like, I'm just following you for your glasses. I'm just following you for your dungarees, which get called something different in every single country, by the way. Yeah, overalls, jumpsuit. This is not a jumpsuit. But people call it different things everywhere. It's really funny. So that is really what's ended up bringing me here to 100% Optical, because I accidentally have gained influence in spectacle buying, which was not on purpose.
That's brilliant. And that's definitely how I noticed Rue. When I was, as you naturally scrolling through your feed, you're seeing different people pop up. Rue's really entertaining in her videos, which is brilliant. But I also noticed she's wearing different eyewear in each of the videos. And I was like, great to meet another eyewear lover. And even whilst not an optician, I know that like Rue is a big love of eyewear. And I thought it'd be great to invite you over to the show in 100% Optical so you can see everything that's going on in the world of eyewear.
Love it. I've absolutely loved it. I've loved especially the catwalks, the dancing catwalks in particular, and unsurprisingly, the color pop section was kind of my favorite. And as well, in your part of the show, the color pop section it's kind of my area. It's color.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think that's really a really important thing. Obviously, at the Eyewear Stylist talk about color a lot, doing color analysis for clients so you can do color with confidence as well. But so one of the classic things that I tend to ask most of my guests on the podcast is when because you obviously wear such bright different colors, always great with your fashion, you got so many different options. Like when you are kind of like waking up in the morning and you're trying to decide, what am I going to wear today? Generally, what's your thought process? Like where do you start?
So I guess that the natural presumption would be that you would look at the things I wear and think, oh my God, there's so many options in here, right? But I'm actually, I'm like a children's TV character or like something. I actually look the same all the time, pretty much. So I have between 30 and 40 pairs of dungarees from various retailers. Some of them made for me, some were from Lucy and Yak. And they are all hung in one bit of my wardrobe. And then underneath I have a drawer that is pretty much all white tops. Because I pretty much just wear white tops. This is quite an exception, quite different for me. I'm wearing double pattern, but I have a few fun tops, but most of the time it's all about the dungarees, the glasses, and then everything else is plain, which is really strange, I suppose, because my aesthetic on my reels on Instagram is the same. I'm all colourful and the background is all white because I've got this thing about there being these things that are like, someone said to me, if everything's loud, then nothing's loud. Right. So if you're making a statement, you can't make a statement with everything because then nothing was a statement.
Well, that's exactly how I was thinking about, obviously, when I came to the show. So for people listening, I'm actually wearing just some black and white Nike Dunk sneakers. My suit is a black and white houndstooth suit. I've got a black T-shirt on, so super, super neutral. But I've actually gone for bright blue glasses on this occasion. And for those who can watch, you can see my hair is actually...
I really thought you weren't going to mention the hair there. I was like, and your hair is blue and pink, dude.
Yeah, my hair is now blue and pink. So if anyone hasn't seen me since the last podcast, when I generally got brown brunette hair, I do have blue and pink hair right now. It's the first time I've ever gone and got it coloured. But what it's done is drawn the attention up. So everyone's like focusing on my eyewear and generally this top half, which is really useful for 100% optical. But I know that obviously if I do colours everywhere, then it can be a bit too much. I mean, for me, certainly if I'm styling people in eyewear, for example, say in general, you can go sort of say really interesting in the shape and like neutral in the colour, or kind of go really sort of neutral in the shape and really bright in the color, and that works. When you're doing both together, that's when it comes like, a real sort of like statement piece, which can be too much for some people, and it's challenging to get that balance. But so do I get the impression, so you've woken up, you're like, right, I'm going to 100% optical today, for example, and you've thought about your outfit. Where did it start? Did you think, oh, I'm going to go for these dungarees, and then I'll work out what t-shirt to wear after, what shoes to wear after that? Or do you tend to find there's a general area in terms of the clothes that you're wearing where the journey starts from to work out what the outfit's going to be?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would usually always start, funny enough, because I'm so known for color, I actually start with shape.
Okay.
Because as a woman, you wake up some days and you're like, I'm bloated. I'm on my period. I don't want to wear like tight dungarees where everyone's going to see like what I had for lunch. Sometimes I want to wear some of my bigger, baggier, oversized dungarees. So I usually start there. Like, how comfy do I need to be today? That's place number one. So I always start with dungarees. Yeah. So comfort and shape of like how I feel about shape today, which is different all the time. Then usually I need to have something that's a corresponding and opposite shape for my top. So if I went for like a tighter dungarees, I'm going to wear a looser top. Oh. And if I'm wearing a really big dungarees, I don't also want to have a ginormous oversized t-shirt and look like a toddler. Because dungarees and big t-shirts can stray into toddler pretty quick. Mm-hmm. So that is the general gist of what I do. And then that's when color comes in. And color is mood. Completely mood based. I can wake up and I know like, oh, today I'm yellow. Yeah. Which I can't tell you why that's the case. But some days I wake up and I'm like, oh, yes, yellow. And I usually pick 2 colors. So I'm a black and white. And then, so I think tomorrow I'm like yellow and blue. I'm very classic tomorrow.
You can't be just
classic
yellow.
A.
You have to.
No, unless, I think it's more of a statement than going for 2 colors.
Yeah.
It's when you're like, I'm just yellow today, and I do it, but it's usually 2 colors. So tomorrow I'm wearing like they're from like the new Run and Fly collection that are like yellow and blue and they're a bit baggier. I'm having a big dinner tonight, and a white t-shirt, and blue glasses. So it'll all be like blue, yellow, blue, yellow, blue, yellow all over. Apart from my shoes, because I only brought 1 pair of shoes.
So essentially, I'm getting the impression the first thing you think of when you're thinking what you're going to wear for the day is I want to feel comfortable, and you're starting with comfort. Then you're starting to go through and think about shape. So you think, I want something, if I'm wearing something baggier on the bottom, I want something a bit tighter on the top or something along those sorts of lines. And then you've thought about that. Then the color. So almost like color is like third, and that's like mood based.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So kind of how am I feeling today? And so today I'm yellow, today I'm blue, or whatever that works. And you've generally sort of started off with the obviously you wear things of beyond dungarees as well, but it's kind of like trousers, top, and then where do the shoes and the eyewear fit in? Is that the things that tie things together at the end, or how does that work?
Yeah. So I would usually, I'm not gonna lie, I work from home, so I don't think about shoes very often, because I will be wearing, my husband bought me tie-dye Crocs that are fur-lined, and they pretty much are what are on my feet at all times, because they're comfy, and no one sees my feet at work, because I'm on screens. Outside of that, I tend to go for either a very, very simple shoe, so I have like a pair of black trainers that I really like to wear that are really, really comfy, or something else that's like a statement, but it ties in, so I like matching my shoes to my glasses quite a lot. I find that quite fun.
And which way round would you do that? Would you go glasses and then match it to the shoes, or do you have an order or not?
Yes, because I have more pairs of glasses than I do shoes. So I start with shoes, and then I'm like, okay, now I go to like the range of glasses. My glasses are hung in my office on a string in color order.
No way.
Yeah. So I can be like, I can move my outfits along them and be like, oh, there we go. That's the right yellow.
Are you actually serious? So you're literally kind of, this is the most organised, I think, guest I've ever had in terms of the way that they arrange their wardrobe. To have dungarees in their own section, which are kind of done in sort of like colour order. You've got t-shirts, like generally white t-shirts more than anything. And then you're kind of like, you've got a row of glasses all in colour order to go and match and just do it. What an amazing way, because I'm so used to seeing people with sneakers doing that sort of thing. We've always
Yeah.
seen those big sort of like sneaker wardrobes, all in color order and stuff. But you've obviously done that more so with your glasses than you have with the sneakers. And in terms of that, then, is there a particular reason you've got more glasses than sneakers? Because a lot of people are the other way around.
I think it's a bit of a matter of personal brand now because people don't see my feet at work. So really all the shoes I own are for real life, which sounds like an odd thing to say.
Yeah.
So are my glasses, but my glasses are also a way for me to express myself on Zoom calls and a way for me to express myself in my content, which is where I do it a lot. And I think because I started to become known for glasses, people used to ask me about glasses a lot. It made me want to buy more glasses. And I did get to a point, lockdown was a lot when it came to glasses because I was sitting in my house with nothing better to do than shop for glasses, getting furlough money from my old job, and being like, I could have another pair. So that probably added up real quick. But I became quite obsessed with the idea that I needed all the colors because I hate this idea that I don't like the idea of buying having a yellow pair of glasses and a black pair. And then basically if I'm wearing pink and baby blue and I've got yellow and red glasses and I have to always wear the black ones unless I'm wearing a specific outfit. And I'm not somebody who is like, I'm not capsule wardrobe girl. I'm not like, you see these amazing, and I love it, is these women who are like, their whole life is like a beige edit or their whole life is in pink and they just have this wardrobe that is cohesive. And mine is cohesive in chaos because all the colors exist. It's a full rainbow. It's a spectrum with white.
I think that's everyone's dream, really, isn't it? When you wake up, I've got every color, I've got every shape and stuff, and it's just how I feel. It sounds like a great situation, but I've definitely noticed that similar thing to you. You mentioned how the pandemic came and kind of changed things a bit, because we're used to a lot, obviously, seeing people in person as we would, and thankfully we are all back together again, sort of conversing in big exhibitions like we're at today, sitting quite close. No. It'd be very hot. We have seen those podcasts though in the pandemic. People are standing about 3 meters away at the other end of a long table, almost like those old school people. And hello, dear, how's your meal? And they're about 5
and the
foot.
game shows as well. The game shows went all weird. Like, never mind the buzzcocks, and it's like the set is now like 20 meters wide because you need 3 meters between everyone.
Yeah, so luckily we don't have to do that. But yeah, we can't get away from the fact that a lot of the time we are on screen, whether that's in Zoom meetings, personally, as we said, or even for socials as well. Like, we're not necessarily always panning from the shoes all the way to the top. So I would agree that I think eyewear is a real great way to build a personal brand because it is one of those things where, you can't not see our face. And I think it's really important that generally, I call it Zoom wear, where people, when you're kind of getting dressed, well, you can have the Crocs on, exactly. You can have the dungarees and things, but the eyewear is a way that you can dress yourself for that day to communicate, I suppose, how you're feeling, your mood that day, what you're up to. So I suppose, have you ever really thought about, based on, I think it's a heavy link between mood and colour, right? Do you know, like, based on what sort of mood you're feeling, what colours you're likely to pick? So if I see Pure Gala Social and I'm seeing you in a certain colour on a certain day, can that give me a hint about how you're feeling that day in any way? Because you've chosen it based on mood?
So if it's me, if you see me in person, not in content, or I'm in my story, or it's from that day, and it's not content, because I'll come back to that. Usually there are colours that are very much safe colours for me. So I will regularly go back to pink and to yellow. They're my favourite colours. If I could be Mr. Blobby, I would.
Not pink and blue, no?
Not pink and blue. I do love pink and blue. It's another good one. Yellow and blue.
Yeah.
But if pink and blue are in there, I've went for something a bit safer. I don't know what that means for my mood necessarily, but it probably means that I wasn't feeling like super out there that day. If I'm wearing something more like an orange or red maybe, although I've got a pair of red glasses that I would consider safety glasses. But most of my ones that are more safer are pink, with some of them being yellow. The other thing I'd say is more indicative probably of my mood when I'm picking my glasses is the shape that I pick and how bold. So like you were saying about color and shape at the same time is a lot, right? So if I've got ones that are like, they're chunky and they are like bright orange at the bottom and light orange at the top, or the other way around. If that's what I'm wearing, I'm probably in like a really confident, like go get the world mood. Whereas if I went for something more like circular and a little bit thinner and pink or yellow, then I was probably a bit more like, I'm not sure. It can also depend what I've chosen to wear elsewhere, because sometimes I went for something so bold that if I put on a bold glasses, like it's just going to be like, who that crazy lady? Do you know what I mean? Like, whoa, that's a lot.
That's the thing, isn't it? Like when you go layers on layers of the similar thing, whether it's color, whether it's that chunkiness, abrasive, really strong style everywhere, just kind of like balance really, isn't it? And one thing I like to ask my guests as well is, obviously you've got all of this confidence in terms of like building your wardrobe, your styles and stuff right now. Can I ask you, is that something that you've just always had and you've always kind of gone for? Is it something that you've kind of grown with confidence over time? Was there any sort of period where you sort of decided to make a change in any way? Have you always been someone that wears bold colors?
So as a child, like most people, I was very confident and bold. I've got an amazing photograph of me wearing my brother's, I think it's a Nirvana t-shirt with 2 different colored shoes on, like a green and a yellow, I think, Converse on different feet. And I'm like doing this to my face, and it was really funny. And I loved experimenting right up into being a teenager. I would wear color, texture, shape, loved it. Was really into fashion. And I used to draw designs a lot. My mum thought I might design clothes when I was little. And then when I was about 12, maybe 13, I discovered Marilyn Manson. And I just was like, the girls in his video, we've seen like the Tainted Love video, and it's like the girl and she looks kind of normal and then she goes all goth and she's like super hot. Yeah. And I was just like, I was always considered, I think I was 12 or 13, but I was always considered like a cute person, and I still am, by my peers. And I just was like, I just want to be considered edgy or like sexy. So I tried that for a while. I worked at a goth nightclub.
Okay.
When I was like 19, 20. And I probably had that kind of look. So I was like that sort of scene kid, gothy look. But I always had this like colorful personality that didn't quite fit how I looked.
Yeah.
So I was just kind of hyper and happy, and people used to laugh because it didn't really match what I looked like, and I would try and do the sullen faces, and I just looked silly. And then from there, I moved into the sort of corporate world, and dressing for the office probably did me more psychological damage than like the pandemic. Like it was horrible. I'd started by this point buying clothes from my childhood, like dungarees, and being like, I like wearing this for after work and for the weekends. But I had to wear this, like, I had to wear grown-ups clothes.
Can I ask on that? I've heard this a few times for some of my guests talking about that, and in the workplace, feeling that's really sort of hindered, like you said, it just kind of felt more damaging, like psychologically, to feel like you have to wear a certain thing. Was that something that was actually explicitly told you have to wear this, or was that something you felt a pressure to dress a certain way?
So I think partly it was, you always get that in like your first day, they say like, this is kind of the dress code. It's like smart casual or it's whatever. And then there's an idea of what that's supposed to look like. But for me, most of it was more, no one explicitly said, but you would go in something a little bit more fun and somebody would say something like, whoa, don't you look quirky? And then you'd feel like you're being brought attention to and you're like, And also, I've got quite a young face for my age. And I've got a very childish name. And I've got a high-pitched voice. I'm not short. That's all I've got going for me so far in the not getting patronized at work category. But when you're going into a boardroom with like guys in their 50s and 60s in their grey suits and their black suits, and you're called you're called Rue, and like you're the little cutie who works social, like you just very quickly realize that you're gonna get walked all over, and that people are not gonna take you seriously, especially if you also look cute, right? If you also then dress in a childlike way. So I guess I built this like persona almost for work, where I tried to tone down my personality a little bit, and a huge part of that made that possible for me was stripping the color away, stripping the fun out of the outfits, and just going in like a black dress and just being like who I'm meant to be so that I can be taken seriously.
That feels like such a shame to me, that some people can't be their natural, authentic selves and still be taken seriously. So, I mean, I'm trying to think myself how much I've probably felt similar sort of situations as well. Like even obviously I've had my hair coloured like I have here, and you will obviously get people like, oh, okay, you know, I can see I met my parents earlier. You can only imagine what their thoughts were. But did you actually ever kind of go in dressing your authentic self and feel like you weren't taken seriously? Or is it something you think you sort of like built up to think, gosh, if I dressed a certain way, I won't be taken seriously? Because I'm wondering how much of it is just assumption based. Because for me, like, I mean, I take you super seriously. I mean, your socials, I mean, you're so clearly, naturally, authentically yourself, you know, even in person, off camera and stuff. You know, I can tell you've got a great personality. You're loads of fun, you know, and you really, everything, I get it. It's you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's you. It's rude. I just like that 'cause it rhymed. But essentially, I feel it's a real shame to think that you could be your authentic self and be not taken seriously, especially on someone who's doing socials, like, you know, stuff as well. And so what did you say? What, you just wear more neutral colors, more neutral glasses and stuff like that? Is that what you pretty much did?
Yeah, so I have a pair of like dark toys Tom Fords, also the right kind of brand for being in the corporate environment, that I would wear every day. They were gigantic because I was like, I need something here. And they were sunglasses frames that I got glazed with like clear prescription so that I could have ones that were big enough. And then outside of that, what I tended to find was I never would have went to work like this.
Okay.
Like full color, full spectrum room, ever.
Yeah.
However, what I would maybe do is wear something a bit flimsier, or like a floral design that was maybe still okay for corporate, but more feminine.
Yeah. You almost put a bit of yourself into...
Yeah, and I would find in those times in the meetings and stuff, people would feel more like they could talk over me. They'd feel more like, you know,
compared to the other outfits.
Yeah. So like, yeah, and it was really sad. But when I started my business, like I tried to begin with, when I first started my content, if you scroll back far enough, I'm corporate Rue. And I'm dead behind the eyes. It's so weird. Like I'm dead. And because I thought that's the person I need to project in order to be seen as a successful person.
And so that's when you started your own journey then, is it? In your own business?
So hilariously, the only reason I ended up starting to wear my normal clothes, on my socials for my business, was because my husband had a new set of dungarees made for me by a local artist that he knew, and he said it'd be really nice if you did a reel or two in those, so you could tag her in them. And I was like, well, you know, I wasn't getting that much attention online at the time, and I was like, oh yeah, okay. And the 4 reels that I filmed in that outfit had like 10 to, I think one of them had like 50 times the reach that the ones in my usual clothes did. And I don't think it's just because of the clothes. It's because suddenly I was like having fun and I felt like myself and was like, I'm going to do this to a Spice Girls song, right? Because I felt normal and like my normal personality was like coming out and people could see. And I didn't just seem like this like cookie cutter Instagram consultant that every other one looks like in like their jeans and like a nice top and a blazer. They were like, oh, this is someone who's different. And really interesting, then I started to attract clients who were much, much more aligned to the type of people who I want to work with.
Yeah.
Because they looked at me and were like, oh, like she looks like the sort of person that I would choose to go for a glass of wine with. And you're more likely to hire someone who you look at and think, if I'm going to pay to be on a Zoom call with you for an hour, I at least want to get on with you and think you're not going to be condescending or weird. I start getting really creative clients who are in creative industries, who are going to, again, I'm going to enjoy consulting on their pages more because I'm going to enjoy the content more. So it was really a massive shift in my work life. And it also felt like I was like stepping into my feminine power. So instead of being scared of being this version of me became the power instead.
I know.
Which is bizarre.
I just wanted to say on that, I think for me, this is why I'm so glad to have yourself on this podcast, and why I'm so glad to have these types of conversations. So I really do think they need to be had. Well, I just genuinely think there's a lot of people out there that would love to dress a certain way, but are holding themselves back because of assumptions of things that may or may not be true. But certainly, I think the moment you start dressing more your authentic self, you do attract more people that like you for you, you know? And I know it does take a degree of confidence, and sometimes it does take that one moment. I mean, your moment was that special dungarees that you had. My moment was when I wore this electric blue suit, you know, and it was just, and I bought this jumper that Noel Fielding wore on Bake Off, so I loved it. It was a bit mad. Have you seen?
Pink face smileys on it.
Yeah, there's a black jumper with pink smiley faces, and I walked around, and all I would have is people go, "Excuse me, I just want to say I love your jumper," and it really lifted me. And the same with the blue suit. It was like no one had ever come up to me. I was always afraid to kind of like wear to be too bold or dress something too bright to draw attention, because people are like, "Oh, I love that on you, but I could never do that," sort of thing. And it's like, it's just a shift in mindset, because the moment, especially if you do love that, like you say to someone, "Oh, I love you in that, but I can never do it." It's just really important to ask them why not, because I think you can build so many assumptions into your own head about what you can and can't do, or what you should and shouldn't do. Whereas, you know, and then maybe there's something to be said for, you know, we're talking about this corporate world in lots of sort of industries and jobs. When you work for other people and with different types of people, feeling you need to conform to some sort of identity for the company identity of what it is, which might be incongruent with your personal identity. I mean, I wonder if there's anything in terms of us being self-employed, feeling maybe we can have that freedom to wear, you know, the clothes that we want to finally, because we, you know, it's our own business. And then in doing so, because it's interesting how you started your own business journey, like, you know, your own business, you know, still with those sort of assumptions of feeling you needed to dress that certain way. And the moment you stepped away from it and into yourself, that's when you said you had more of the fun, you had more of the life, you know, life behind your eyes and the creativity. You're getting all the clients that you want and stuff. So have you ever had those sorts of conversations with any of your clients at Pure Gala Social, in terms of the way they're presenting themselves, in terms of the assumptions of the ways they feel they need to present themselves versus the actual realities of what people love to see?
Yes. So not so much like fashion wise, because I think that comes later for people. But the one thing that I see a lot is people who... So I was always really concerned with people knowing that I'm smart, because I thought, you don't think I'm smart because I'm cute, and that those things are in opposition. They're actually not, but people think they're in opposition. And I feel like a lot of women in particular, 'cause most of my clients are women, that they feel that if they do not deliver things in a professional way, if they don't deliver and they don't maintain themselves in a way that people can respect and take seriously and that fit this mold, that people won't know they're smart. But what I actually find is that when people deliver particularly content in that way, it's dry as ass. It's like the worst thing you've ever watched. And the thing that people do a lot in content is they go into their TED Talk voice. I'm talking about Instagram today. Like, it's this completely fake cadence. No one speaks like that. Which you'll find in most of my videos, I speak very much in the way that I would normally speak. And the other part of that is, and behaving in a normal way. And doing normal things with your hands and normal things with your face that you just do, that you think, that makes me look a bit silly. And you think, well, you don't look silly. You look like somebody that I would feel comfortable
Authentic.
speaking to.
Yeah.
You look like a normal person, like not like a robot. So I think that that's probably the first place that I need to get people to change the way that they're presenting, is actually more in personality delivery and being comfortable being seen as a person, not as a professional, before you can move on to things like, is that outfit really you? Because that's not for me to say. Generally, I've got some clients I've been with for a long time that I probably would be like, I don't feel like that expresses you. But yeah.
I think that's the thing. I think obviously we as humans, you can notice when you feel someone's putting something on, if someone's like faking it in any way, if they're behaving in a way that you feel's not authentically themselves. And you can definitely notice that in the personality and dress codes as well. And you've seen people where they're kind of like in both senses, where someone's like deliberately trying to put it on or dress a certain way to look a certain way, and even comes across in the way that they talk as well. And the more we can kind of get people to, it's the authenticity. And I think we know when something's authentic, don't we? And I think it's just getting across to those people that have any pressures to look, dress, speak a certain way. Say the more you are natural and yourself, regardless of how you think, if you think I need to look smarter, if I need to come across, more professional or whatever, that doesn't mean that I have to do something different to who I am authentically in order to achieve that. And I think that's probably a really nice way to round off the podcast, actually, just to say, be your authentic self. Please don't feel you need to look a certain way. And obviously, if you're really being explicitly told to like dress a way that's incongruent to who you are, speak differently to who you are, then it's definitely worth taking a step back, I think, because I think we only live life once, and you're only going to be your happiest when you're being your authentic self. And it's finding a way to do that and finding a way to do it with confidence. Obviously, I help people try and do that with eyewear. Rue helps people try and do that through their social media strategy. And I just want to thank you so much, Rue, for coming on this podcast today. It's been a real pleasure chatting to you.
Thank you for having me.
No worries. There you go.